Hello everybody, my name is Jolteus Draconicus, aka Ren, and today, in recent light, we have been given the official rulings for the new card game known as VCard. It is very interesting to say the least. Today I'm going to be going over all of the official rules for gameplay. I will be showing demonstrations, I will be showing cards, examples, all that snazzy jazz. I'll be showing how cards interact, I'll be showing you all the different types and variants of cards, I will be showing you all the elements, I will be showing you all the other factors in gameplay, every single official rule when it comes to deck building, playing, starting the game, as well as I will also be showing a little demonstration of part of a game just to give a visual aid as to how this all goes on. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So to start us off, I think it is best that we look at all of the types of cards specifically in the game. Now there are three specific different types of cards, but the first one that we're going to be looking at are the VTubers, aka your power level cards. There are three different types of power level cards. There is power level 8, power level 9, and power level 10. These are very specific denotions because not only because of the number at the very top denoting what power level they are, but also by the text that's in the card specifically. When it comes to power level 9 and power level 10 cards, they do not have any actual effect, they instead have flavor text. Whereas the power level 8 cards have a very specific effect that varies depending on the card. Some can give additional power based off of specific criteria, or they can also draw you cards, or a couple other things here and there. Now the purpose of a power level card is very straightforward. It is basically your denoter of how much power you have throughout the game, and you and your opponent are going to be comparing each other's power level throughout the game to see who's higher and winning rounds based off of whose is higher until one player has up to 5 points. Once a player has 5 points, they win the round. The two other types of cards that are in the game are Mascot cards and support cards. Mascots basically just provide a power level buff to your power level cards depending on certain criteria. Whether that be a matching element or a very specific name, they will give you different numbers based off of those different sets of criteria. Support cards can vary drastically depending on the type of card, but they all just give some sort of miscellaneous effect depending on the text, and some can buff you or even hinder your opponent or even just do some other variable gameplay shenanigans. Next up, we will be looking into the elements. As you can see with the Mascot card currently on screen, it has an element denoted in the top left corner, and then it has a strength and a weakness element in the bottom left corner. This is basically denoting what is strong against what, how things interact furthermore in the game, and I will be explaining that right now. In the game of VCard, there are 5 different types of elements. There is platinum, there is lightning, there is water, fire, and grass. The interaction between these elements is very simple and straightforward. Basically, platinum is strong against lightning, lightning strong against water, water strong against fire, fire strong against grass, and grass is strong against platinum. Very simple and straightforward. Depending on the interactions of varying elements can lead to different benefits throughout the game. Specifically, when a player would have an advantageous element over another player, they would get a +2 bonus to their power level. You do not get any negative bonus if you are weak against a different attribute, as well as if two elements are being compared that have no advantage or disadvantage and are thus neutral, neither get a bonus. Element interaction goes further beyond just giving you a power bonus, specifically in the form of Mascot cards. When a Mascot card that is of an advantageous element to an opposing Mascot, they get to destroy that Mascot once played. Now the next segment that we are going to be going into is the deck construction. There are a couple rules to the deck construction, but they're pretty simple. First off, you can only have up to 4 copies of one specific card in a deck. Next, you must have a minimum of 50 cards in your deck. It is important to note that there is no maximum, only a minimum. So a legal deck could be anywhere between 50 cards and 842, or even further beyond that if you so wish as a player. Now when it comes to specifically what is denoted as its own card, it's pretty simple. Let's take all 3 of these buff cards, for example. Even though each of them all have the same name, they are all technically classified as different cards because they each have a different border, as well as a different power level and different effects. Same thing with these 3 tricky cards here. Even though 2 of them have the same name and 1 of them does not, they are all still classified as their own individual card because they each have their own power level, they each have their own name, effects, etc, etc. Now, the next topic that we are going to be discussing is the board. The board is very simplistic and lends to the game's very simplistic gameplay. There are only 5 slots on each player's board. There is the prize pool, the power level, the deck, the mascot and supports, and the discard slots. Your deck is simply where your deck goes. Your power level is where your power level cards specifically will go throughout the round. Your mascot and support cards are where your mascot and support cards go. And then your discard slot is where all of your cards will go after a round is finished. Now, the prize pool slot is optional, but we will be discussing such further throughout the example game. So to start off the game, both players will prepare and shuffle their decks, and then from that draw 7 cards. Once both players have drawn their 7 cards, we will move on to the power phase, where both players will choose 1 power level card from their hand and place it face down in the power level slot, similar to how Pokemon works. After both players have selected their power level card, they will reveal them simultaneously and compare the power levels of both cards. Now, it is important to note that if a player does not start with a power level card in their opening hand, then they can mulligan for 1 card less. For those who don't know what the term mulligan means, it's as simple as you just take your hand, shuffle it back into your deck, and then draw the same amount of cards, but in this specific ruling, you get -1. So if a player were to not have a power level card in their opening hand, they would shuffle it and draw 6. Now, after that mulligan, if a player still does not have a power level card, then they lose the round. But don't worry, there are multiple rounds in the game, so you're not out of it yet. But in this test game, both players have played and revealed their power level cards, and thus we shall now compare the two. One player has played a Lord Aethelstan power level 10 card, and the other player has played a Nanners power level 8 card. Now, whilst Lord Aethelstan does have the initial lead, because the Nanners card does have the elemental advantage, they get a +2, making it tied 10-10. In a game, when there is a defined player with a higher power level, that player will have won the power phase, and then that player will go second in the following phase. It is important to note that the winner goes second and the loser goes first. Now, in the instance that there is a draw, like in the instance right now, both players can just choose however they see fit to decide who will go first, whether that be a coin flip, dice roll, rock, paper, scissors, or just unanimous decision. In this very specific test, we are going to have the Nanners player be going first. At the start of the player's turn, they will draw a card. It is only on the first turn of each round that you draw a card. You do not draw cards further on into the round until the next round. Now, there are two very specific rules throughout the game that you must keep in mind. First off, if a player is unable to play any type of card from their hand, whether that be they run out of cards in their hand or they do not have the right cards to play, then they automatically lose the round. Furthermore, if a player has the power level lead for more than 2 of their turns, then they automatically win the round as well. These conditions do not apply to the power phase, but they do go into the following turns throughout the game. After the Nanners player has drawn their card, they are going to play a Goro Mascot. What Goro specifically states is that it gives +1 to power level, +2 to water type power level card, and +3 to your Nanners VTuber power level card. This in total would give +6 to the Nanners power level, thus making their total as of right now 16. Now, it is important to note that during your turn, you cannot play more than 1 mascot card or more than 1 support card during your turn. You may choose to play 1 of each or just 1 and not the other, however you choose. After the Nanners player has played their Goro card, they will choose to end the turn, making the power level be 10 to Lord Aethelstan and 16 to the Nanners player. We will go into the Lord Aethelstan's turn. They will draw their first card, and then they will play a Butcher's Blade support card. This card specifically states that it gives a -3 to your opponent's power level card. It is also important that mascots and supports stay in the support and mascot slots until they are discarded at the end of the round or destroyed by some other effect. Next, the Lord Aethelstan player is going to play a Smolchi, which gives +1 to power level card and +2 to fire type power level card. Because it is not the correlating mascot to the correlating VTuber, they will not get the +3 bonus, so in total this gives a +3, putting the Aethelstan player at 13 and the Nanners player at 13 as well, making it tied. We will go on to the Nanners player's turn. They will not draw a card, because it is no longer their first turn, and then they will choose to play a Gwub Mascot. Now, when the Nanners player plays the Gwub, because it has the advantageous element against the opposing player's mascots, they get to choose to destroy it and send it to the discard zone. Because of that, the Lord Aethelstan player will lose 3 on their power level, making the power levels Aethel to 10 and Nyan to 16. Going into Aethel's turn, he will play a Bradley card, which, because it is the correlating mascot to Lord Aethelstan, they will give a +6 bonus, which will put both players at 16. Going into Nyanner's turn, she will play a White Knight support card, which specifically states that it attaches to any support or mascot card, and it cannot be destroyed. The Nanners player will choose to attach it to their Goro mascot, and then pass the turn to Aethel. Aethel will choose to play a Haze mascot card, which, because it does not have the proper element that correlates to Aethel, Aethel will not get the element boost, but they will still get a +1 power level due to the card's first line of text. And because electric is the advantageous element towards water, then they will get to destroy the opponent's mascot, being the Gwub. When the Gwub is destroyed, that will put Aethel at 17 and Nyan at 11. After Aethel has played the Haze, they will choose to furthermore play Water Shield, which specifically reads, your opponent's water power level card cannot benefit from any elemental level advantage this round. This means that the Goro currently in play, as well as any further mascots that are played by the Nanners player, will no longer receive an elemental bonus. Because of this, the Water Shield will make the Nyan player drop by 2 points, and putting the Aethel player at 17 and the Nyan player at 11. After this, the Aethel player will pass their turn to the Nanners player, and then they will choose to play another Gwub, which will only give +1 because there is no longer an elemental bonus due to the Water Shield. However, because it is still an advantageous attribute, they can choose to destroy the Bradley that the Lord Aethelstan player has on the field, which would put Lord Aethelstan at 11 and Nyan at 12. Next, on Aethel's turn, Aethel will choose to play a double down support card, which reads, for every card you have in play, gain +1 power level. That means that Lord Aethelstan will go up by 5 because he has 5 in total, and this will make their power level at 16 against Nyan's 12. Going into Nyan's next turn, she will play a Bro, which again does not give the elemental bonus, however it does still give a +1. On the Lord Aethelstan's player's next turn, they will play another Bradley, putting the Aethelstan at 16 and the Nyan player at 13. Going into the Nyanner's player's turn, they will choose to play another Goro mascot, which will give them a +4, putting them at 17, and the Aethel player is still at 22. Now, unfortunately, going into Aethel's next turn, because they do not have any more cards to play, they will lose the round. Now, because of the score tally throughout the games, had the Lord Aethelstan player been able to play at least one more card, they would have had the lead for 3 of their turns total, thus would have made them the winner. Unfortunately, they no longer had any cards to play, so they lose the round, thus making the Nanners player the winner, and they will score 1 point. Once they score that 1 point, we will reset the board. The winning player will add all their cards to their discard pile, and then the loser will add all their cards to the prize pool pile. Now, at the very end of the game, after one player has scored a total of 5 points, then they get to take all of the cards from the opponent's prize pool zone and keeps them, similar to how in Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle City Arc, where the winner takes cards. There's essentially a built-in gambling system into the game. Now, of course, this is optional, in which case, then the players can just use the prize pool zone as similar to an exile or banishment zone, or they can also just simply ignore the prize pool slots and just send their cards to the graveyard as well. Now, at the very end of the very first round and every round following that, instead of players drawing 7 cards after their cards in play are discarded, instead, they will fill their hands all the way back up to 5. If both players had 0 cards left in their hand, then they would both draw up to 5. But if, let's say for example, one player had 2 cards left, the other player had 3, then the player with 2 cards left in their hand would draw 3, making them 5 total, and then the other one drawing 2, making them 5 total. And then after that, it's simple rinse and repeat. You both players select a power level card to play into the power level slot, and then the next round begins. And that is how each turn and each round will go. And again, like I said earlier, the first player to score 5 points total throughout the game wins. One other thing to note is that if both players were to so happen to tie during a round, then you just simply play another round, regardless of when that tie were to occur throughout the game. And that is all she wrote. Those are all of the gameplay interactions, mechanics, rules, everything to VCard TCG. Now, before you go, there are a couple things that I do need to mention about the ruling specifically that are very integral to this current video. So as of right now, for those who have not fully catched on to some of the specific interactions, there are some flaws in the rules, to say the least. Flaws that I will be covering in a follow-up video to this. And those flaws are very, very game-breaking. Now, VCard as well as Shy Lily specifically have tweeted and announced that they have recognized players' feedback and are going to make slight tweaks to the rules. So when those tweaks are made, I will make another video, basically just reinstating everything that I've discussed in this current video, but I still want to make this video as a basic guideline because whilst they have stated that they are going to be making changes throughout the rules and whatnot, that doesn't mean that they are going to be changing the game entirely. I highly doubt that. They will most likely just be changing bits and pieces here and there, changing specific wordings to rules, whatnot. So the baseline of the game is still going to be the same. There's just going to be some slight, subtle, different interactions throughout. But like I said, once those are made, I will make another follow-up video to this and explain all of that all over again, just for everyone's sake, as well as peace of mind and simplicity. If you want to see my thoughts, opinions, as well as further analysis on all of the rules specifically and dissecting all of its flaws and weaknesses and paradoxes throughout the rules of the game, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and hit the funny little bell in the corner so that way you can be notified when I post that video because it'll be very soon. If you all enjoy this video, I would heavily appreciate it if you like this video and share it to any of your fellow colleagues who may be VTuber fans or interested in new card games such as this. Once again, thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it. Hope you all have a blessed rest of your day, night, evening, dawn, dusk, whatever it so may be for you. And I'll see you guys later. Rest easy. Peace.